everybody, and welcome to the 25th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I am joined as always by my brother Matt.
Hello.
And my brother Rob.
Yes, yes.
How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
I'm sorry, Rob was cracking me up just before the show here. Rob, do you want to share a little bit about the most racist McDonald's commercial you've ever seen?
Yeah, McDonald's is selling their new Southern chicken line, which is, I gotta say, I tried it. It's actually pretty delicious.
It's not as good as Chick-fil-A.
It's not as good as Chick-fil-A. Have you tried it?
Yes.
Well, at least it's better than what they used to have, because it's not ground chicken meat, it's a whole chicken breast, which is, you gotta go with that. Yeah. But anyway, they have this commercial out now, right? And it's two black people sitting in a car, like it's a black couple.
Right.
And the wife points out, hey, honey, look, they got new McDonald's chicken and biscuits. And he goes, chicken and biscuits, just like my nana used to make back in the oven. They look over, the drive-through window turns into an oven.
Wow.
Yeah, it should be McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Oh my god, that is
I'm
hard.
Sorry, but that just freaking cracks me up.
Wow.
I'm sorry to bring that weird darkness into the beginning of the episode. But yeah, and he actually says Nana in the commercial. This is not a lie. So just like my massa used to make.
Well,
I know. Sorry.
1 degree away. I know.
I do want to try the chicken on a biscuit because I haven't had that. I've only had the sandwich.
I think it'd be pretty good. I mean, because think about Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like, they serve chicken with a biscuit, so why not just take the next logical step, put the chicken on the biscuit, and you got something delicious.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What about yourself, Brad?
Yeah, I thought I'd share this junk email with you guys that I got today. Occasionally we get these at work, and this one I just had to read this. It came from a strange email address, and it says, like that drink? Does not matter. Our patented patch will help you grow a whole mountain in your pants.
Wow. Uh-oh.
I don't know if I want that. But just to dissuade your fears at the end, it says, it's tested! Exclamation point.
Hey, I'm glad you read to the end. It's funny because the messages will just try to put in every random odd phrase that they can.
I got one that said, she'll never leave you again because of the duration of your acts. Does that mean how long it takes for you to wash dishes or watch a DVD? I mean, jeez.
How long you can read Acts of the Apostles in the Bible.
And it always starts off with, hey there, bro! Or something like that, just
yeah.
faked American slang, but gotta love junk email.
Makes my life worth living.
Yes, but speaking of the internet, how about we take a look at the news?
All right.
All right, let's do it now. Rob, what was your favorite geek news story this week?
Apparently, cold fusion is a reality.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, seriously. Over Memorial Day, I was just sitting there on the computer, right, and everybody's barbecuing, and then all of a sudden I just read this news story on Gizmodo, and they're just like, scientist in Japan causes a cold fusion reaction. I'm like, what? And here everybody's talking about gas prices, and I'm just, my eyes bug out of my skull. Yoshiaki Arata. Okay, he's a physicist in Japan. This past week at Osaka University, he demonstrated a low-energy nuclear reaction at room temperature, and it maintained this heat for 50 hours.
Oh, wow.
Right. And he claims, they're not able to, obviously observe down at the nuclear level, but what's going on here is that the atoms are actually fusing together, creating this nuclear reaction, and it's pretty exciting. I mean, some people think it might just be electrolysis going on and not in fact fusion, but
well, isn't electrolysis hair removal?
Right, we're gonna have free energy but no more hair.
I'm gonna file myself under skeptical on this one.
Right.
I remember, I think it was a Japanese scientist who had claimed the first successful cloning, and it was later discovered that some of his research was fraudulent and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying this guy's a fraud. Cold fusion is one of those sci-fi awesomeness things, but I'm going to say I'm a little skeptical about this one.
You do see these kind of news stories crop up, it seems like every now and again on websites like Dig and things, and they're real big promises like cancer cured, and it's like, holy crap, and a million people dig the story. But then, you do the research and find, okay, it's like an early, kind of a experimental thing, and everybody's a little bit too excited about it. Rob, was this on a big newspaper, or was this kind of like in
This is Physics World.
Okay.
Reported this.
Right.
So it is pretty big, and they actually noted how most news sites and even science sites won't go near fusion stories, with a poll, because they're just, it's too much of a hot topic, but
or a cold topic.
Boom!
That was the word of the day, by the way. So, but apparently there was enough credibility to this. It was, demonstrated to a panel of experts, and nobody has yet been able to call out BS on this. There's skepticism, but nobody's been able to denounce it.
Okay, so cautious optimism here.
Cautious optimism.
But if it ends up being true, cool.
Welcome to the future.
The year 2000. Well, that's my news story for the week, and so, Brad, what precious nuggets are you bringing to the table this week?
Well, I've got some nuggets, let me tell you. Cracked.com did an article this week called The Top 5 Movies Ruined by Last-Minute Changes.
Uh-huh.
I Am Legend. Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, well, I'm going to try not to spoil anything here. Essentially, the title of I Am Legend, it relates to the original ending of that book and of that film, and when they tested the ending, the audiences were kind of turned off by it, so the studio actually modified the film to be a different and more traditional ending, thereby eliminating the point of the title, which was, I Am Legend, and I won't go into it, but they spelled it out in the article exactly what that means. But essentially, when that film ends the way it does now, the title doesn't make sense, or at least the title isn't explained. Did you catch any of that, Rob, when you saw it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a subtle connection, but yeah, I guess they did lack something.
There's a message and a meaning to I Am Legend that was lost because a test audience didn't like it. So that kind of riled me up a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to go on some kind of rant about test audiences because sometimes they do good. I mean, they saved Lando's life, if you've read that story. But I would encourage people, if you're watching I Am Legend, watch the alternate ending, because that's apparently what the author of the book had in mind.
Right.
Matt, what interested you this week in Geek News?
I mean, I think we're all familiar with the asteroids plummeting to Earth, and you have to get like these special drillers or someone with incredible skills that aren't necessarily spaceman skills out there in space to get the job done. Well, NASA needs a dang good plumber, because the International Space Station's vacuum-powered urine collection device has failed.
No way.
It has failed, yes. The wiener hose.
No!
This is
going to have to be the title of the episode now, I hate to say.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know. Unfortunately, NASA isn't certain which part of the system failed either, so they have to send up as many spare parts with the shuttle Discovery on Saturday as they can, so that what will then be a 10-man crew will have a chance to fix the potty.
Are they holding it currently?
Well, currently, and I wondered about that. What can you do in the void?
A lot of globules
yourself?
Floating around now, perhaps?
Yeah, that could be really, really dangerous. But luckily, the life pod, the Soyuz, is part of the space station. It's one of the Russian capsules, and it's the emergency lifeboat. So the toilet on the lifeboat works. And that's about it. Hopefully nobody accidentally goes to flush and,
ejects
disengages. Yeah.
Oh, no, that would really suck.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I can relate to this story because I just had my sewer back up.
Wow.
Here in the house.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like just now on the podcast, or like earlier?
Earlier, it was actually going to be the other story I would tell instead of the chicken.
Okay.
But
so you can relate to the desperate crew.
Yeah, except that they can't go outside and dump the toilet water into the vacuum of space.
No, not easily.
Oh.
Wow. Well, what can you add to that, is all I can think to say. So light a candle for the crew of the... What is it?
The International Space Station.
Or light a match, at least.
Yeah. The whole Drops of Jupiter in Your Hair, for anybody that's listened to that song by Train.
Oh.
Yeah.
I always wondered what that song was about, and now I know.
Now you know. So that is Geek News for this week. Startling revelations from all over the planet, apparently, and outside the planet. So now let's move to our main topic of discussion, which is a movie highly anticipated, Indiana Jones, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Sex in the City.
Oh, I'm sorry. That'll be next week.
Okay.
Just kidding, everybody. But Indiana Jones 4, essentially, something that has been in the making for over 15 years now, is directed by Steven Spielberg. It was written by David Cope, and there was a lot of screenwriting battles over who's going to write this thing. At one point, M. Night Shyamalan was involved. At one point, Frank Darabont was involved, who did The Green Mile. And he contributed such story points as the return of and the inclusion of the cast member. So here it is. I want to get each of your opinion, but also want to find out what your expectation level was going into this film on a scale of 1 to 5 whips.
I would say that when I first heard they were going to be making another Indiana Jones movie, and that was I want to say now more than like 5 years ago, I was really excited, and I was like, well, they better get it done because Harrison Ford isn't getting any younger.
Right.
The other thing is, the last time we saw Indiana Jones, he was riding off into the sunset after just having drank from the cup of Christ, and to some extent to see like what direction they would maybe go with that mythology, if anywhere. I was definitely excited, a little bit nervous after Star Wars.
Sure. And Rob, your expectations of this film, or would you consider yourself an Indiana Jones fan, or are you just kind of casually interested?
No, I'm not a diehard fan of the series, but I definitely had some, I had heard those mixed mumblings as well, and had a lot of skepticism. I had seen a lot of exciting things going into it. The unveilings that they made at Comic-Con had piqued my interest. There were a lot of good signs, and there were a lot of bad signs. Like the TV spot was running on TV, of course, and they put the critic reviews up there, and they were the surprisingly kind of vague things like Indiana Jones is back.
Right.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
It's like Harrison Ford is
Indiana Jones. Yeah.
But I guess I went into it really open-minded, and I didn't prep by watching the first 3 or anything. I just kind of went with the sort of layman's knowledge of Indiana Jones, and so my expectations were, I felt like on an even keel going in.
Well, I feel kind of the same as you. Just sort of a layman appreciation. I love these films. I can't really remember too much of Temple of Doom, but I love Last Crusade. I love Raiders. We watched it endlessly at our grandfather's house. I think that was pretty much his plug-in babysitter. He would just basically put the tape on. We'd watch Raiders, and then we'd fall asleep on his pull-out couch or whatever. So, you could say I love these films, and yet I'm not a hardcore fan or anything. I don't know the trivia like I do with Star Wars. So, I was just kind of like, well, I hope it's good. I hope it lives up to it. But so I kind of went into it similar as you guys. So let's turn it to Matt. So you finally do see it last night, and your thoughts on the film.
Oh, man. Well, definitely, overall, they get the adventure aspect down. I shouldn't start with an affirmative for Indiana Jones 4 by dissing the new Star Wars trilogy, but I felt like this, it really delivered the level of adventure that all of the other Indiana Jones movies had. And then that might be where I get into the criticism, is that it's true to Indiana Jones almost to a fault. It has it all. It has all of the formula that makes Indiana Jones great. Right. From chases, there's these chases, there's pursuits, then there's kidnappings, then there's escapes, then there's creepy crawly bugs, then there's more chases, pursuits, kidnappings, bugs, escapes, and then your villain that wants ultimate power.
Right.
At certain points, I was more aware of it than others. That I'm like, this is Indiana Jones.
Right.
And there were moments where I knew that that's not Harrison Ford. They had to get a stunt double for that. But otherwise, it drew me in. It managed to pull me in. There was a few stutter steps at first, but I think everything I'm describing, I think, really is my own mindset. If you have no concept of Indiana Jones, it's still a pretty dang good movie.
There you go. Rob, let's turn it to you. What did you think of the film?
You know what? I'm going to say what they said on the trailer. Indiana Jones is back.
Okay.
But no, in the fully optimistic way, this movie, forget about National Treasure and The Mummy and the Da Vinci Code and all these kind of just carbon copies. This is the original gangster or the original Tomb Raider or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, there's the word right there. Yeah,
exactly. This is kind of the franchise that set it off, and you know what? It's a return to form, and it is every bit as fun as the last few Indiana Jones movies have been. So I really found myself enjoying this. Matt, was dead on when he said the adventure aspect is there. And you don't find yourself being like with Star Wars where you're like, well, where's the war? This is a bunch of politics, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
This is still like all of that stuff that makes Indiana Jones fun. And I mean, there's actually a TV spot that was made for kids where they just they throw out this formula, and I was like, you know what? That's actually pretty right. They say what makes Indiana Jones Indiana Jones? He has the hat, he has the whip, and he has, of course, the theme song. You know, and they play that. And you know what? The movie has those three things, and that makes it so exciting. And then there's the fourth part of the formula, which is Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
of course, can do this type of character way better than Nicolas Cage or anybody ever could. He's the king of sarcastic anti-heroes, you know? All he had to do was get out and just say something like, Russians. And you're just like, ha ha, yes. My reservations are, be ready to suspend your disbelief. This is 80s kind of action, This is ridiculous.
Oh, man. Even the sound effects for punches are still the original sound effects.
Right.
Which are that kind of beefy slap.
So a little unbelievable to you in your cons there.
It's totally all right. I mean, without ruining it, Harrison Ford's first major escape from a life and death situation is incredible. But I'm like, yes, this is what I want. This is only Indiana Jones would think of it and live through it.
I think my final thought is this: it's a great movie, standing out against other movies. But standing out against the rest of the Indiana Jones quintology now, it's definitely not the best Indiana Jones movie, and I sort of hope that it's not the last, just because it's kind of a weird note to end it on.
Yeah. Indiana Jones relies on its artifact, essentially. You have the Ark of the Covenant, the Shankara stones, and then, of course, the Holy Grail. And this one, the Crystal Skull, a bit more X-Files, maybe, than I was hoping for, and it threw me off a bit. I didn't think that part felt particularly Indiana Jones. But what does feel very Indiana Jones is the booby traps and puzzles. Like Matt said, the archaeology, adventuring, real dirt, real sets. That was the stuff where I was like, okay, this is Indiana Jones as I remember it. If you can get past some of the silly CG and the modern effects, then I think you'll enjoy this film. So it sounds like all of us would certainly recommend it, so that's good. And before we close our show, we'd like to crack open that Choose Your Own Adventure book, use our fingers to save our place in case we get killed, and enjoy a little nostalgia.
Gosh.
I have to apologize because last week I misled Matt a little bit with my intro. I started talking about the arcade, and he thought that we were going to actually go into the arcade memories, and he was a little bit bummed about that. So you know what? This week I'm going to give him the opportunity. Let's talk about that old arcade.
Yeah, what happened to it only costing $2 to get to the end of Ninja Turtles?
I want to start this thing by rattling off just some of our favorite titles.
Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Pit Fighter, Rob?
Simpsons, Dragon's Lair, Operation Wolf.
Oh, man. Terminator 2.
Anybody remember Quartet?
Quartet.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Wow, Mercs.
That one where Ninja Gaiden arcade.
RoboCop. Haltman.
Where his gun comes
out. Oh, X-Men.
Oh, yeah. Rob can do a great Colossus.
Hold on.
There it is.
That was exactly it.
The stupid 3D Sega hologram game that stole your money.
Oh, and it was like
with the cowboy
FMV fights. Yeah, and then you just got killed constantly.
Virtua Fighter.
Oh, yeah.
Kagi was my favorite guy, the ninja.
So obviously lots of great titles. We spent a lot of time in the arcade, obviously.
We did, and it was Tilt at South Hills Village that we went to a lot, and that eventually shut down. I remember Kennywood
Park.
Had always some good stuff.
That's a big arcade, and it's still around, actually.
One of the few.
But, the games are no younger. I mean, and if you walk into an arcade now, the saddest thing is, the newest game in there is, 10 years old. I mean, probably the latest innovations were the sort of DDRs and the mocap boxing and that kind of thing. But ultimately, the arcade, the thing that it used to mean, is sort of gone. The sort of first place to find that new title.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the consoles at home were never going to look as good as the title in the arcade. Street Fighter, once it's ported, it's not as good as the arcade, so you still have this incentive of, here's the real one, and here's the home one. So, I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. The hardware in your home console is up to snuff. They're not willing to invest that kind of money on
Right.
arcade hardware to try and beat PlayStation 3 or 360.
You would always go to the arcade to see the newest and latest things. Sorry.
What arcade were you going to?
The one with the nudalities intact in Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
yeah. Unfortunately, I could only get it to work with Kano.
Well, there's you bring up a real good point there, because the arcade was pre-internet, and so
Right.
you would walk in and see some dude totally wailing in Mortal Kombat, and then it would go finish him, and you'd be like, "What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Is he gonna do something that I've never seen before? Is there some you had the potential to have your mind blown?
Yeah.
There's a social aspect to the arcade, which is physical people standing around a machine getting pumped about a guy getting to the end of a game, you know?
Yeah.
Yep,
I mean, would you say...
you put your quarter down to wait your turn
Yeah.
to play next?
Do you think multiplayer gaming, as it is now, like over the internet and stuff, kind of fills that gap, or do you wish for that sort of social atmosphere?
To some extent, it dilutes it a little bit. It takes a lot more guts to like walk up to a complete stranger physically,
Right.
and either offer to challenge him to a round. You might not even say anything. You might just put the quarters in.
Yeah, exactly. If you're playing Street Fighter and some kid puts a quarter in, my boss at work, who has 3 kids, he was playing Street Fighter once, and a kid slipped a quarter in, and it says, "Here comes a new challenger,"
Yeah.
And he was on his way to getting to the boss, and so here's this kid, and he basically has to defend his right to continue playing the game, and he ended up beating this kid.
Nice.
And then he said, it was such a good feeling. He's like, "I beat that kid." It's like a 12-year-old, But
yeah, and I mean, I remember for us at least, I think it was one of my birthdays, and we managed to score all 4 positions on the Ninja Turtles arcade machine. So
Yes.
it was me and you guys and Jason Flynn, and
Right.
we made it all the way on. Mom and Dad, they weren't like loading us with dollars. So
No.
I think we each only had like 8 quarters, and we made them last, and we got all the way to the end.
Technodrome.
Yeah, we got to Shredder, and we didn't have enough money to beat it, but when we turned around to leave, because we were all out of quarters, there was a good crowd all around
Yeah.
us watching it
that.
happen. So that felt really awesome.
Proud moment. You can't
Yeah.
really have that over Xbox Live.
No.
But I mean, did the arcade go away rightfully? A lot of geeks sort of feel abused, whenever they think of their nostalgia and the way that the arcade was sort of just, it's gone. But is it rightfully gone, or is there an argument for bringing the arcade back?
Well, I don't think. I mean, the arcade still sort of exists in a way, but in a different sense. And you should definitely rent the movie King of Kong: Fistful of Quarters
Absolutely.
if you haven't. It definitely harkens back to that whole kind of over-the-shoulder watching a guy achieve a high score.
To some extent, we're lamenting a piece of our geek society, a place where we could go and feel at home.
Right.
There are the Dave and Buster's. At least around me, you've got your Dave and Buster's and your North Park clubhouses and stuff like that. That's good stuff, but I don't know. Some of the arcade games just don't appeal to me for some reason, like they used to. And
Right.
I don't know. I would love to walk into a place that's wall-to-wall classics. I would pay a membership fee to have that.
Yeah. But hey, let us know what you think if you're listening and you miss the arcade like us, and you miss RoboCop, or if you got to the Technodrome on 8 quarters. Send us an email. Let us know. Our email address is mail@growing-up-geek.com, and we'd love to hear from you. I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening, and once again, my name is Brad.
And my name is Matt.
I love it.